Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Barry, and thanks for being here tonight for the candidate forum for the District 7 seat on the La Crosse County Board. I'm Scott Rada, the moderator of tonight's event, and I do live here in the Weigent-Hogan neighborhood. Joining us are the two candidates running for this seat, Beth Piggush and Ken Johnson. Thank you both for being here, and especially on such a beautiful night.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Voters will head to the polls April 7th, and all of the races on the ballot are nonpartisan. Tonight is about helping voters get to know these candidates better and to better understand the issues facing La Crosse County. We hope to keep this forum to about 30 minutes. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. If a question is not addressed, I may ask for a brief follow-up. Sitting next to me is our timekeeper who will provide cues as candidates approach the end of their 2-minute time. When time expires, I'll ask you to wrap up so we can stay on schedule. Also, none of today's questions were shared in advance with either of the candidates. Tonight's forum is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube for those who couldn't attend. The order of responses was determined randomly in advance, and we will alternate who answers first throughout the forum. At the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. With that, let's turn to the candidates, and we'll begin with a simple question to give voters a sense of who you are and why you're running. The first question goes to Ken. Why did you decide to run for the La Crosse County Board? And what perspective would you bring to this role? And please do use the microphone.
Thank you for having us. I decided to run for county board because I see in our communities the lack of transparency, I believe, is happening in our government right now. A lack of transparency in spending, lack of transparency in how they're approaching our different issues. Just a little bit about myself. I started after law school. I put myself through school working full-time. I put myself through school and I became an assistant public defender, and it kind of was a stepping stone to my bigger and better. I ended up becoming a chief public defender for 2 different counties, so I have managed multi-million-dollar budgets before. And in the 9 years that I have managed budgets for the county, I never once went over spending. I always came in under. So I always had the eye on the taxpayers' money. When I got out of when I finished with my public defender stint, I had opened up my own law practice. And after I opened up my law practice, I was very successful. I had numerous attorneys that were working for me. Came to a point a little later, towards the tail end of my legal career at that point, my firm, is my father-in-law got sick, unfortunately. He was a lifelong resident of La Crosse, and so about 6 years ago, my wife and I made a conscientious decision. We worked together and we bought a house 2 blocks, almost 3 blocks down from my father-in-law, so we could take care of him as the dementia was slowly developing. So for the 3 years he was at home, we made sure that we alternated taking care of him, meals and so on and so forth. After he passed away in October, it opened up a new, different world for me. I was able to then I work at the public defender's office. The majority of my time is spent finding at the VA when they commit someone for mental health reasons. Mostly our veterans. I find them places to live, whether it's a group home, individual home. I manage their finances or get them the payee to manage their finances. So I have a very great job right now working every day with the veteran community. I decided to run because I just want to know where our money's going.
Thank you. And Beth, the same question to you.
Could you repeat the whole question, please?
Absolutely. Why did you decide to run for the La Crosse County Board, and what perspective would you bring to this role?
Well, good evening, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Beth Piggush, and I live in the Weigent-Hogan neighborhood. I am on Ferry Street, where it doesn't go through, at 21st and Ferry. And as my kids would say, we have the Culver's Blue house with the Culver's Blue roof. So if you need to find us, you know where that is. I'm running because, one, I have time. Most recently, I decided to take a step back from a full-time position with the Franciscan Sisters, and I wanted to be home with my kids. and also to take care of my own parents who are in Winona. And with that time, I also realized I was kind of antsy. And so when the opportunity came to run, I was ready to get into it. And now that I'm working on understanding what the county is doing, I understand that there are so many things that I don't know and that my peers don't know in a city district that represents the county. And so I'm really interested in being able to communicate that back to people. I want to be able to make decisions, but also I want to be in the room to ask the questions on behalf of my neighbors. I'm a mom of 3. My daughters are 16, 13, almost 14 in 2 weeks, and 10, and it's a busy house. But I also recognize that this takes commitment, and I want to be able to make sure that other people like me can run for office in the future too. So I'm working at UWL as a lecturer. I think it's important to educate the young, and I think it's important to educate myself. So as part of this, I'm running not only to learn, again, what is happening between city and county dynamics, but then also to be able to ask those questions. Thank you.
We'll now move to District 7 specifically, and Beth, we'll start with you. What county-related concerns are you hearing most often from District 7 residents as you're going around and meeting people?
So at this point, the issue that I'm hearing the most of is actually related to city issues, which tells me that we have some work to do on sharing that. So whether it be regarding roads or bike lanes, which there are no county roads in District 7, and the bike lanes is a city decision, the next area is honestly what might be happening with the roundabout or traffic control, where Hogan site is now going to be a new school as Jackson, the highway, runs down, and what that means for the neighbors in the neighborhood. And then the third thing that I hear is kind of just understanding why I want to run as compared to my predecessor, who is in the seat right now, is Gary Podesky, someone who's been in lacrosse longer than I have, and why I think I can be a better candidate and keep things going.
Thank you, and Ken, I'll ask you the same question. What county-related concerns are you hearing most often from District 7 residents?
Three of the biggest issues that I hear about, and I agree with Mrs. Piggush, that the city issues do pop up a lot when you're knocking on doors. You ask about the bike lanes, ask about certain things with the city that obviously we have no actual control over. However, we can have our input to as well, which leads to the communication or the collaboration between the city government and the county government, which I think needs to be done. But the three issues are roads, the issue of spending, where is our money going? People seem to be paying more and getting less, and then they want to know why. In addition, the homeless population too as well. That's one of the big major issues. If you look at road spending in the last 3 years, we were spending $9 million on reconstruction 2 years ago. Last year it was down to 8, this year it's down to 7 million. I don't know why they keep cutting the repairs to the road, because if you don't repair the roads, you're going to have maintenance issues on your automobiles, you're going to have more traffic congestion, and it's going to cost longer in the long run, in which you can, when you're working in the city, you'll see these problems continue, and the outside roadways too as well. Well, they allocated $6.2 million in the budget for the $7 million, and they borrowed $800,000 against that. The law allows you to borrow against infrastructure. People don't realize they're surpassing the levy by asking for an extra $800,000 that have not been voted on and passing, or just passing that back to the taxpayers without any say-so. In addition, if you take a look at the transparency issue too as well, Pathway Homes Initiative is one of the biggest concerns that I see too as well. I know that Cooley Cap and Catholic Charities are wonderful charities. They're outstanding things, but they gave them $3 million, $3 million, and then they allocated another 150 to 300,000 without bringing it back to the county board. They did an executive order adding more money even after that resolution that was originally passed said that they cannot add any more money to that. So they circumvented the people, they circumvented the county board, and from that, and just finally, and the last one would be the homeless population. The homeless population, I can address that. I guess I'm out of time, so I'll address that further down the road.
And I can give you a preview that you'll have a direct chance to address that, so we'll get to that in a second. And Ken, you can keep the mic. The next question goes to you, and it's focused on much of what you were talking about on the budget. The county faces ongoing budget pressures, including the loss of federal pandemic-related funding. If revenue is limited, which it always seems to be, what would you prioritize protecting the county budget, and how would you make those decisions?
Well, I would make those decisions on the needs of the people from the community and to protect them as individuals or our community as a whole. If you look at the budget, every city, every municipality, I believe, is having financial issues right now. Tax revenue is not the same. People are spending more money different places. So the priority with that is going to have to be spending more wisely. Is there a reason why we're spending for the Isle of Bloom extra money and getting less hours? We're paying fees for things like that. I want to know why these things are happening. Certain things want to be protected. As to our roadways, why are we taking money away from repairs when road repair never goes away? Those are things that we need to address too as well.
Thank you, and Beth, as you may imagine, the same question to you. Again, the county faces ongoing budget pressure, including the loss of federal pandemic funding. With revenue limited, what would you prioritize protecting in the county budget, and tell voters how you would make those decisions?
Sure. As everyone, I'm learning what is in the budget. And so as the priorities go, I see people as being the number one priority in our community. There are health and human services that need to be taken care of because we're mandated to take care of those as part of state statutes. So in accomplishing that budgetary requirement and how I would be able to go through and pick and choose what was going on. One, I would want to be able to hear what District 7 is interested in. You know, I think part of what I want to do is to make a mechanism for communication. In inquiring about running for this, I heard, oh, you never get calls from people, Beth, as a county board supervisor. Well, I think that's a problem. So I think in understanding what people want to know and what their concerns are is where I would start. I think there's also an opportunity to look at the federal funding that is still available, because there's quite a bit available even though we've lost it, and to look at the creative options like we're doing with Hillview and the daycare that's coming through. I think that's a win-win for everybody. Intergenerational approach takes care of our entire legacy of the county.
Thanks. I found the button to turn on my mic. Sorry for the delay. Beth, you can keep your microphone if you'd like, and this is something was touched on a few minutes ago. Homelessness and housing stability have been major issues in our community in recent years. Beth, what role should the county board play in addressing those challenges?
I think the county board has done a tremendous job in what it needs to do right now. I think that the staff at both the county level and the city level and any number of organizations that are part of this Pathways Home initiative are giving information to the county, and the county board is following through with what they need to. However, they're not the final decision makers on things. So as long as there's support for what the initiative is, because it's more than county government, it is multiple entities, then I think that the county board honestly has the best place to listen and then to communicate that back to their different districts. There's 30 districts in this county. That alone tells you that there are so many different pathways of communication. How do you share that and the goodness or the hiccups that are happening within the homelessness population and how that's being addressed in the city especially? I think that there's an opportunity as well for more to understand where trauma comes from, and that's not the responsibility of the board, but to keep that in mind as we're looking at supporting health and human services, as we're supporting veteran services, as we're supporting those in our jails and looking at those opportunities to support the whole person and their dignity is all part of housing.
Thank you, and Kenneth, same question to you. What role should the Crosse County Board play in addressing homelessness in our community?
I believe they're not doing enough. And the reason why I say that is that we're spending money or throwing money at a problem and not getting the results that we need to get out of that. You cannot address the homeless issue without first dealing with mental health, without dealing with substance abuse and addiction, and not dealing with general job planning or at least training for individuals. First, as to the mental health issue, I started a mental health court 20-some years ago. I got a federal grant for that. My entire career I've dealt with counseling, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, things along those lines, and job training. And I've realized that if you're not getting to that root problem of drug addiction or the root problem of not being properly trained for a job, it's going to be a complete circle. You can incarcerate them all you want. Once they get out, then they don't have the training or anything that they need. I think as a community, and we spent like I said before, we spent $3 million for the housing initiative. Great idea. But that was just for, it was either 14 or 16 homes. That's $250,000 a home to rehab or to remodel a house. I don't know where 250, and going back to that transparency too as well, the county has to do a better job, because if you try to find out where that money is going, you can't find it. You can't go online and see that there's a line item, that they need to publish better, for better awareness. And if we start dealing with, and started giving handouts, giving them a help up, I think we're in a better position to help our homeless population. We're roughly at 200, 240 is the estimate. I think that may be a little low, but when you start closing parks down and taking the places in which they're living away, or where they're putting their tents up, you have to find a place for them. You have to find help them get housing, but not give them things all the time. Some people, yes, some people have mental illnesses that need treatment and they can't fend for themselves. So we need to work better as a community to educate, to improve, and to help those that need the help. Instead of just throwing money at it, setting up hotels and just say, go live there with no supervision, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Thank you. Again, you can keep the mic, because this question goes to you first. What does effective oversight look like to you, and how would you hold county government accountable while still working collaboratively with staff?
Well, I think it's very important, and it's that word I've been using, is that transparency. That's how you hold them accountable. There's no reason why these agendas are not published ahead of more than 24 hours or more ahead of time, so we can take a look at it. We can call our representatives and say, hey, what's going on with this, instead of posting them. Some of our meetings are at awkward times for people too as well, so those time placements prevent people who actually work a 9 to 5 or work, or have children coming home from school. They don't have the opportunity to attend those meetings because we're doing a better job with videoing and broadcasting than we have in the past, and allows people to actually see what's going on. But when I talked about that extra $150,000 to $300,000 that was tagged onto the resolution, that never went to the county board. Many county board members didn't even know what was happening. So if we're spending in excess of $150,000 to $300,000, that should go to a full county vote. And that's where people see, where's my money going, or they see there's no transparency and they get upset with government. So we need to be more transparent. We need to be more available. And there's no reason why that if a project goes through, that they do a line item where the money was spent. So you have that accountability, so we could all justify the reason for that and where that money went, and people be more comfortable. It's when you're not broadcasting that, when you're not putting that in any kind of agenda or a newspaper or some kind of spreadsheet after that program has concluded, so people can see that this was well worth it. How else are you going to evaluate if you want to re-up a program too, unless you have some kind of checks and balance to that actual program itself? So I think it's very important to hold accountable, your public leaders, and we need to realize that if I get appointed or Beth gets, Ms. Piggush gets elected, we represent the people of our district. We don't represent our personal agenda. We're not in this just to make extra money or to become some congressman. At least I'm not down the road. I just want to represent the people of my district and do exactly what they're, for the most part, what they're asking me to do.
Thank you for that. And Beth, the question for you, same as with Ken, what does effective oversight look like to you, and how would you hold county government accountable while still working collaboratively with county staff?
Sure. You can call me Beth.
Okay.
Anybody can call me Beth. My mother-in-law lives in Crescent. We'll keep her as Miss Piggush or Mrs. Piggush. So in keeping accountability within government, that's really hard. 16 years ago, my husband and I moved here from Hartford, Connecticut. I grew up in Austin, Minnesota, Spamtown, USA. But having lived in Connecticut, I worked for a state agency. I know exactly what that accountability referendum and all of the hooks and balances within that are required. When it comes down to it, it's a relationship. It's conversations with people. They want to know what I think on behalf of the district, let's say, and then I want to know what they're doing. Yes, we have agendas. Yes, we have budgets, but we also have human beings that are paid to do those jobs, to bring the budgets to the county board, to have the conversations in the formal setting. But I've met with county directors already, and they are more than happy to welcome just a candidate into their office to explain what it is that they're doing. So in the sense of oversight, yes, there's 30 people that will look at that through the lens of their different districts. And I think there's an opportunity for having a relationship with the people whose job is to create those budgets. And part of that is because, again, those state statutes and the legacy that has been set before. If we're not going to allow those people to do their jobs in setting those budgets and knowing federal funding, outside funding, tax funding, then there's an issue because they are paid to be there 5 days a week, 40 hours plus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will now move on to closing statements. And each candidate this time will have up to 3 minutes to address voters directly or to discuss anything of the many issues that you think are important that have not yet been covered this evening. Beth, you will get the first chance to start off. What would you like to have your closing statement be?
Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. It's great to see familiar faces in the room and those that I hope to meet after this. And as a closing statement, I think it's a great privilege to even be up here. There are so many people that when I knock on doors, they're like, well, good luck to you. And I say thank you because one, I want to represent my community, and two, I want to role model for my own kids and those that know me that this is possible. But when I am looking at what the county board can be part of and what the county is really working on in the future, I see a dynamic climate action plan that involves people and taking care of the planet that we have and the legacy of the land and the farmers and the water, everything that we have here. I see an opportunity for us to carry through with the legacy of social services. There are phenomenal people that are working in our health and human services, supporting the populations. The fact that they made it through COVID still boggles my mind. And that is an opportunity, I think, for me as a board member in the future to be able to support them and to listen and to understand, again, that they are the experts and they know what they're doing. And my job on the county board is to read and to bring my questions to the table when they have those meetings. Like I said, climate action is really important to me. I have 3 kids. I work with students every day at the university. I am truly interested in thinking about how we can do the things we love, whether it be hiking, ice fishing, boating, cooking with clean water. And I also want to make sure that we have respect for those that have been making the decisions. Not to let them take it personally, but just to know that we are in this together and that as we have an opportunity to kind of make decisions as a board, I would really like to represent District 7 as that intergenerational touch point. I'm a mom, I'm working, I'm also available for my parents and those that are in my community and across the street from me as my neighbors. We are a community, and there's nothing else that is more important for me right now in sense of relationships. And if I can bring that to the county board table, then I will.
Thank you very much, and we will end with Ken's closing statement. As a reminder, you have up to 3 minutes to talk to voters directly or discuss anything that we've not yet covered tonight.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for taking time out of your day. Everyone's busy, and I understand that, and sitting there, it truly means a lot to me, and I truly appreciate you all being here. Now, as I've been very fortunate in my life. My wife and I raised 3 beautiful boys. They're married. Well, 2 of them are married. One's getting married in September. I know what it's like to have to do a family budget. I know what it's like to have to make ends meet in good times and bad times. And when you're struggling, you're not. I know what it's like to have to make decisions as a parent when it comes to your own children. I don't like government involvement with my children. I really don't like them telling me how to raise my children. I like them keeping them safe, from that standpoint. And I think overregulation sometimes gets in the way of that. I was blessed after I retired for my short period of time to teach school at Blessed Sacrament for 3 years. I did 5th and 6th grade math. It was probably one of the most rewarding jobs other than what I'm doing right now. It was one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever done. I realized how underpaid our teachers are, how sometimes they're taken advantage of, in the sense of some parents want us to be their babysitters as opposed to their educators. We have to get focused in making sure that our teachers and our schools are taken care of, and no matter how we can do that. Libraries are a big thing with me too. I think children need a place to go. You can't be closing libraries. You can't be fencing off parks. Mostly a city issue, but we do have county libraries too as well. So we have to be cautious, because there are children who don't have computers. There are children that don't have parents that actually mind their education. If they have that escape, such as a library, we need to protect those resources for our children. One of the biggest things, one of my biggest concerns is leaving this place better than when I was here. And that's what we're trying to do when it comes from the education system. I've been working side by side, and I talk to my neighbors and their concerns. It just goes back to, want to know what our government's doing. I want to know what the accountability is. I want to know who's making certain decisions and why those decisions are being made. I can take a look at everything that, from a budgetary standpoint, it had a good reason to begin with, but there's some things that need to be moved around. We shouldn't be cutting necessary programs. We should be looking to see what's superfluous, and that goes also to working together, both city and county. When it comes to perfect example, the other day we had 6 inches, 10 inches of snow. County plow went down my street 3 times and didn't drop the plow just to go up the unincorporated road that wasn't mine. Is there any reason why the city and the county aren't working together to say, hey, if you're going down that road, drop the plow and push that snow to the side? We need to be working together and getting funding for roads if we're buying things in bulk as opposed to buying it as an individual unit. If we're sharing the different schedules, they're trying to do that with the court system right now, is that they have additional, they're kind of going down with the Onalaska and the La Crosse court system, maybe combining. They're in discussions to make it more cost effective instead of duplicative with doing the same work in two different areas. So we need to work together as a city and a county, and we have to make sure that we coordinate on both ends and work for the common goal, which is good for the people.
I'd like to thank both candidates for participating tonight, and thanks to everyone who joined us. Again, the election will be April 7th. Also, I should point out that because, as most of you know, Hogan is no longer available to be voting, please double check your voting information before heading to the polls. This forum will be available on YouTube for those who would like to watch and share it, and we certainly encourage all eligible voters to participate. And I will turn things back over to Barry.